I'd always been a writer. When I was in middle school, I wrote like a 800-page fantasy novel. When I came to Texas A&M, I knew that I was passionate about writing and that I was good at it, but I didn't really have a story to tell. So I participated in the Glasscock Undergraduate Summer Scholars Program through the College of Liberal Arts, and with Dr. Marianides, we began studying and interviewing veterans who had served in Iraq and Afghanistan and were returning home to the States to civilian life. And that was kind of like the first moment where I realized I had this skill and it could be applied to help people who maybe don't have a voice. You know, if I really want to make an impact and reach people, you really have to be willing to go to where a story is. So I went over to Glasgow, Scotland to continue my research. That's when Taylor reached out to me.
So when I heard he was writing a book about it, I reached out to him to see if there's anything I could do, if there's anything we can collaborate on.
Taylor and I knew each other in high school. He asked me to come and tell the story of helicopter pilots in Guam. Then it wasn't until I went to Guam and we kind of spent a week reconnecting that I really realized Taylor had a kind of incredible story himself.
I knew I was getting out of the military. My time serving the country was up, I did my part, and it was time to move on with my life to do something for me. But I saw a lot of my buddies getting out of the military and they were killing themselves, And when I'm at this point, whenever this is going to be me going into this, you're wondering if that is going to be you. Are you going to be the guy that does this? Because I had no idea what I was getting into.
Taylor had a lot of anxiety about going into civilian life. Soldiers transitioning from the military into civilian life are completely unprepared for what is ahead of them. Nobody for Taylor even mentioned PTSD as he was coming out of the military. So while maybe for our combat veterans, that is an issue that's being addressed, for non-combat veterans, it's being overlooked entirely. So when Taylor was a rescue swimmer, they would have 16-hour days. They would be running off of adrenaline, and their job was essentially jumping out of helicopters. So when you have to go from doing that non-stop to civilian life, the way Taylor will describe it is it's like driving a truck 70 miles an hour and then slamming into a brick wall. Taylor had this dream of sailing around the world. It just seemed like our strengths were perfect to create this voyage where we really called attention to an issue that was very personal and dear to both of us. This was going to be Taylor's odyssey, essentially.
So we started sailing and we started documenting the process to show what happens to your body after you run at that pace for so long, and then you stop.
Sailing some of the harshest waters in the world to really draw attention to that issue. And the dream was always to make a documentary about not just Taylor and our trip, but about veterans returning to the civilian world and the lack of organized programs from the military to help them with that. One of the tools that I feel like I really took away from studying liberal arts at Texas A&M University was critical thinking, and to take that and be able to apply it across a spectrum of different fields and industries.
This documentary needs to reach every veteran getting out of the military. It's not the answer, but it's a start, It's the start of a conversation.
The Glasscock program really set in motion my life plan. And our mission is to take veterans out and help them reassimilate into civilian life through sailing and other outdoor activities. It is kind of exciting for us to be here and knowing that we're doing something big and that's going to reach a lot of people.